welcome once again. Thank you for tuning into the See You Try show. I am here with another wonderful panel of guests that I will introduce in just a minute. Just a reminder that the Trauma and Resiliency show is working, the Trauma and Resiliency effort is working to help make Champaign County a trauma-informed community. And now that it is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month or People of Color Mental Health Awareness Month, depending on your framing and language, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to bring in a group of wonderful women. This is just a snapshot of the tribe of women who've been working on a project called For Colored Girls Who've Been Weathering Their Own Storms. And so we want to tell you a little bit about the project and have just a chat, a conversation about how we have sort of been weathering storms through COVID and thinking about mental health and community and all of those other good things. But before I get going, I want to just do my little blurb. The views and opinions of the guest are their own. So I want them to feel free to share whatever they want to share. And so this is always just a collaborative, open conversation. The time will go quickly and long-ranging, but we have a lot to share. The last thing that I want to say as I breathe is we have another guest. We have a couple other guests who may pop in, so we'll just sort of keep open with anticipation. So without further ado, welcome. So I'm going to let you introduce yourselves in no particular order. Who wants to go? I know, go.
Hi, my name is Misty. I've lived in Champaign since I was about 12. We used to come visit all the time because my aunt went to the university here. So I consider myself a townie. I never know what to put on these things. I'm a Scorpio. I like long walks in the park. I enjoy writing.
My favorite color is. So thank you so much. And we'll just do quick introductions and then we'll talk about why you joined the project later. So Misty went, who can go next? I promised you popcorn people would be joining us. Tina, thank you.
Hi, my name is Tina Childress, and let's see, I've been in Champaign for, like 30 years. I came down here for college and I kind of never left, so you can do the math in your head. I am
5 years. That's it.
Oh, right. So I met my husband down here, and we have two wonderful daughters, ages 18 and 13. And so this project has been very special to me, just showing what colored women can do.
Yay. Thank you. Next.
I'll go next. So my name is Linda Kwan. I'm originally from Danville, so just a little hop over. Came to school here in Champaign, worked for a few years, left for quite a while, and then I've been back for the last 4 years now, I guess. So I'm kind of a townie. I guess I am a townie now. So I'm a designer and do some other things, but in terms of this project, that's kind of my main capacity. So
thanks. Thank you. So we've got two more voices. Ashanti, Heather, who wants to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Heather Rose, and I am just an activist, life coach, a mother of two, and I really enjoyed the fact that we were able to be chosen for this particular project, and I've been doing poetry for a long time now, and to actually be a part of something like that has really gave me the excitement to keep going and to teach more students how to voice their opinion on paper as well as, in life. So, wow. Yes.
Thank you. Last but certainly not least, Ashanti. Oh, Ashanti, your volume is weird. Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Ashanti. I'm a registered nurse.
Oh, it's Ashanti. Let's see. How can we hear you? Because we want to hear you. Let's see. It's still funky. Okay. Can you
give me a minute?
Okay. All right. Call right back in, and we promise we'll make space for your introduction. Okay. All right. So everybody keeps mentioning a project, and so I'm gonna just, ooh, yay, Latrell, perfect. Can you introduce yourself? Because that was the perfect segue.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
I don't know what time or what day it is anymore.
Okay.
Hello.
We're just doing introductions. Do you want to share who you are?
Yeah, my name's Latrell Bright, and I do a lot of theater in town. That's about it for me.
Okay. So that is a perfect segue. I'm hoping Ashanti pops back in. So people have referenced this project, and so I want to divide the conversation up into two. And
Okay.
so I want to say, right, so a couple of years ago, I went to Andrea Rundell at the YWCA and told her, ooh, okay, so I'm going to come right back to you in just a second, Ashanti, but told her that I had this vision for wanting to do something around for colored girls. It was around, so I had a vision, and she said, you should meet Latrell. And For Color Girls was born because Latrell, thanks to New Covenant, that gave us space, and I would sit with other women from the community and read and create and talk in that space. And Latrell, feel free to join in, moved from New Covenant's lobby to my kitchen table. And we just continue to think about what it would be like to create safe spaces for women of color to come together, to connect, and to build a sense of community. And fortunately, then Linda came into my life over that summer, a year ago, and she said, and I'll let Linda describe this project. She was like, I have an idea. I want to do something around trauma. So Linda.
Yeah. So this was actually, the first time I even met you. I'd heard about Karen and the great work she's doing with Trauma Resilience Initiative. And I had been wanting to work on a graphic novel project, and I'd really been wanting to work on something around trauma and sharing people's stories to do with trauma and moving through it and healing. So there was a grant available, and I said, well, would you be interested in working together on a project to create a graphic novel around trauma? And she's like, oh, let's talk more. So we did. And then with all of the projects that do you want to hop back in, or shall I carry on?
No, keep going.
Okay, because there's lots of things that Trauma Resilience Initiative is doing, but of those, the For Color Girls project that she just referenced, that started with her and Latrell, she's like, I think this would be the best one. So I really think this would work perfectly because we've already been collecting stories, and we could start a new group and then move from there. So that's what we've been working on.
And that's how Ashanti came in our life. I'll start back with Ashanti and then let you all populate and talk about what attracted you to the project. So Ashanti, introduce yourself.
Hello again.
Yay! That's great.
I'm a registered nurse. Mental health is a passion of mine. I've been a writer since I was in grade school, and I'm also the founder of the Writers of Oya, which is a group that teaches middle school girls how to use slam poetry in order to cope with stress, trauma, and suicide and depression. And so I heard about For Color Girls through a Facebook thing, and they were looking for writers, and I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. And I was expecting to have to audition or do a piece of spoken word, and then you're like, nope, you're in. So it was really great.
Perfect. Well, welcome. The rest of you chime in. What attracted you? What got you to show up in this space? Because
I think one thing that I will say in relation to what Ashanti just said, as far as thinking that she was going to have to audition or do some slam poetry. I come, as a theater person, but I also come from it more broadly as a storyteller, and we all come from storytellers, and we all grow up around various forms of storytelling, and there's so much that we just know inherently without having to get an MFA in it. So the kind of come as you are and come with the stories that you have has been a part of both of these years with For Colored Girls, that I just wanted to put that in there.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Misty, were you getting ready to say something?
Wow. So I actually, Latrell, we had just finished Men on Boats, actually. We just finished Men on Boats not too long before everything started. And she was like, hey, there's this project that I'm kind of part of. They're going to turn poems into a graphic novel. And I'm a big nerd, like a huge nerd. And I was like, graphic novel, you say? And I went to the first meeting, and I think I was on the same level as Ashanti. Like, I didn't think I was going to have to like perform anything, but I figured like we'd write the first couple poems and they'd be like, okay, we picked the people we're going to use. And you guys were just like, everybody's welcomed. And I was like, yay. I've been writing since I was a tiny human, but I had stopped for a long time. So it was I was very excited about that because it was a process, like you said, it was a process to kind of work through those issues and to be part of something great.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share? Yeah, Tina.
So this is like nothing I've ever done in my life, ever. And Latrella is the linchpin for it seems like a lot of us. I learned about it, I think maybe you posted about it on Facebook, and I thought, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. And we have many intersections in our lives. She's taught my daughter and, theater community and all of that in Champaign-Urbana. I am an avid theater goer. And so for those of you that don't know me, I'm also a late deafened adult. So this says, be kind in American Sign Language, the ABC alphabet. And so I feel like, I brought another intersection in terms of disability. And so I'm a late deafened adult, so I grew up with normal hearing, and then I lost my hearing later in life. And so this has been an amazing outlet for me. I'm, typically a very kind of technical kind of person. I do audiology but I've also done accessibility, but not as a performer. So this has been very different for me and a new creative outlet. Sometimes I feel like an immigrant to like this theater community, this country, and I'm excited to become fluent in this culture, to view it with new and fresh eyes. I love the fact that our purpose is to empower other girls through our stories, through our, being able to be retrospective about things that we've learned, and being able to share that some of the stuff that happened to us was, kind of traumatic, but we survived, right? We weathered the storm, and we want to just, give other people hope. So that's how I came to be part of this.
Wow, thank you. Was there anything else? I don't want to move to another question if there was something sort of sitting on the vine. Okay, so one of the things I thought we would divide this conversation up into a couple parts, right? One is just to sort of, right, introduce yourself, introduce what made you interested in showing up in the process. But then I also thought, again, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and to talk about what or how participating in this process has done to support or elevate, right, like your awareness of mental health or your own mental health needs. I know for me, it has been just such a great space to be in community with people, right, a container for love and care that has been just wonderful. But I wondered for you, if there are any messages in the experience that you would like to talk about regarding mental health.
Well, for me, I dedicated most of my poetry for the For Color Girls book based on the relationship between me and my mom. And it's really interesting because my mom is with me right now. Like, we're working on this thing with trees. It's kind of awesome. But it's very healing in that it's one thing to say, okay, this may be an issue. I might have a mental health problem. It's another thing to write about it and then totally put it out there for others to absorb, for others to criticize, and for others to judge. And partway through the process, I just kind of had to be real and be like, hey, Mom, I'm doing this project and I'm writing it about you. What do you think? And she was just like, you have to do what you need to do for your healing. And I'm going to do what I need to do for my healing. And I feel like just having that permission and that validation helped. And the thing about the For Color Girls project that's so impactful for me is that not everybody's able to go to that one person that they're writing about and saying, hey, I'm writing this. Do you support me? So we kind of gave each other that validation. We gave each other that permission to grieve, to mourn, and to heal, throughout this process. And I feel like that's what's critical with mental health, specifically with women of color. Sometimes we tend to be very social, and psychologists have found that with women of color and mental health, it's better done in groups as opposed to individual therapy. And so this For Color Girls project kind of gave us a space in order to vent our frustration, cry our tears in a supportive environment while still pushing for progress, not allowing each other to stay down, lifting each other up and building each other up. And I think that's really critical for mental health, especially when it comes to women of color.
Thank you.
I would have to agree with Ashanti. The biggest thing I think for me, mental health, is like, I feel like a lot of times we tell ourselves, I don't want to say we tell ourselves lies, but we tell ourselves slight misgivings of the truth. So like we tell ourselves, we're like, we're okay, everything's fine. I've got no past traumas, everything's wonderful. And the one thing that I remember is like writing the poems was easy. That wasn't the problem. The moment of truth was when you read them out loud. That emotion that had been so suppressed for so long that you were like, I'm okay, the world is wonderful, bubbled to the surface and released itself into the world. And I feel like that it was a lot, like Ashanti said, it was something that all of us needed, because we were with everyday life, like I said before, you take things and you compartmentalize them and you shove them off into the distance, and you're like, I don't have time to deal with that. This project made time for that. So like, even if I didn't want to deal with, random thing on a Thursday, it was like, well, got to write this poem. Here we go. Let's see what comes out. And the other part is like, especially with the coronavirus, so then when coronavirus went off, like there was the thought process of like, it's only 2 weeks. Okay, it's only a month. And like, we got to like, it's only a month. I was like, I'm not okay. And then I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. We're going to get through it. And I remember you were like, the moment that they were like, well, write something about what's going on right now. And I was like, I'm fine. And I wrote this poem and I'm like, I'm not fine. Oh God. But it was the same process. Like I was still like, and it's part of why I love like the conversations we have on Sundays, is that it still gives me a place to reevaluate those emotions and to let them bubble forth.
Thank you. Tina, were you getting ready to say something? I'm looking at you leaning in, but maybe it's Latrell. I can't figure out which one.
I think I do have something to say. I find myself often going back to my military brat upbringing and kind of shifting locations and being this constant observer of the world. And so I think that really colors how I write. I write from a distance. And I think being around so many people like, Ashanti and Misty, who could like get to the kernel of the thing with that person, I'm thinking more in terms of context. And so, and it's not that there wasn't richness in the context, but I do think I learned or remembered something about myself as far as trying to dig a little bit deeper to that thing that person did that hurt me, and not try to understand them, but just talk about that thing that person did that hurt me. And so, I just, on a weekly basis commended the bravery that, I'm still working on.
Yeah. There is this quote that I'm sure it's not hers, just because, right, like we parrot lots of quotes, right, that that Marianne Williamson has in a book called A Woman's Worth, but she said, if one woman told the truth about her life, the whole world would split open. And as I've sat with you all frequently, I have thought like my heart has just been open, and you know, it has been a gift about building community. And I know that that was one of the visions when we sat around and envisioned what this process would be like. We would say it's a space where women could be authentically themselves. And I hear Ashanti saying that that being so important for her own mental health and mental health process, and a wish for the community. So that's my little spiel. Heather, were you getting ready to say something? I know you wrote a lot about you know, from a heart space too.
Yes.
And that was how you approached this work.
I've always felt like I had a dark place, and that's where I like really write well in. I talk about love, but I talk about love in the opposite way. I say I can't stand it. I hate it. Even though that little girl inside is just like, I love and I want to love and I need love. But that adult is like, no, forget love and all of the above, you know? So it's really dealing with those emotions and really maturing and being able to put it on paper and then to read it. It's really just like heartbreaking, but it gives me a release. You know, it gives me a chance to actually look back on those moments and really say, hey, that molded me into the woman that I am now, you know? And it's wonderful. It's art. It's art. I love it.
Well, that is a perfect segue. Okay, Tina, yes, please.
It's so funny because like Heather, when you're saying that, so like while you guys are talking, I'm looking to the side a little bit because I have captioning going and it's like listening. And so I can hear, but sometimes I miss things. And so you're saying it's art in my head. And I think my heart said it's hard. It's hard. You know, love is hard, right? And your whole, like, you want love, but you don't want love. It's an anti-love, you know? And I think that this project and belonging to a part of it, it's being able to think about something or like a trigger sometimes, which is good and which is bad. There were things that I haven't thought about in so long that I've just stuffed down so deep, it's down at the tip of my toes. I have no idea how it even came out through my hands and to type it and all of that. And I think, you know, we all protect ourselves that way, right? You know, there are some things that we have to suppress because if we think about it, we will fracture. And I think that because this has been such a safe space, I felt very free to talk about stuff that I don't know if I would talk about with other people, you know? And that's what a tribe is about. You know, that's what this heart space is about. So I love you guys, and I you know, cherish our Sunday afternoon get-togethers that we have. And, you know, for those of you that are just like listening or watching, you need to find a tribe like this. I can't even tell you how valuable having a tribe like this is, you know, and you can never have too many tribes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that plug, because I think that was our wish, that more women would do this. And we have had it intergenerationally, although it's not reflective. Ashanti Camille has joined in, and we have a couple of young adults pop in, and every week we meet, it feels like a different configuration. There's a pod, like a core, and then there's these different complexities. So in the middle of Black Lives Matter, we had some younger folks who populated into our conversations and joined in. So it has been this really vibrant, intergenerational, cross-cultural, cross-racial space that we've been able to create, in some ways inspired by Latrell and Linda. I want to ask one more kind of like heady question, and then we'll sort of open it up to more freewheeling. I want to know, like, how has Covet impacted your awareness of the need for this work. I know initially, right, we were thinking more homage to Ntishaki Shange, and that was what we wanted, right? She was feminist, uplifting diverse women of colors, voices, but it feels like it changed a bit as we continue to. How has COVID impacted your awareness of the need for the work or your process?
I would say that, so I have 4 roommates. We live in a gigantic house, but like, so I never hit the point where I was like alone. Like there's the point where you're like, I don't have a boyfriend. That's a different type of alone. But like, I was never like, I'm in the house by myself. But like, I remember Monica lives by herself. And I remember thinking about even just the thought process of being like 4 people in a house where you can't leave for like 2 months was rough. Mm-hmm. But I started to think about it like if I was at home by myself. The moment that made me think about that is 2 of my friends, both him and his girlfriend are nurses. And when like we were deep in it, they were like, so we're going to volunteer if they need to take us. They have cats. And they're like, can anybody watch their cats? And I was like, yeah, I got you. Your cats love me. It's great. They're wonderful. I can cuddle them. And then like the minute I sent it, I had this panic because I was like, I'm going to be there by myself. There's no one else there. It would just be me and the cats at their house. And I feel like the project, sorry, going back to that. The project is even more needed than it was when we started because there are lots of people out there who are by themselves and who are trying to weather this storm, but they're alone. They're the only ones that they have. And if at any point in time, any word that I put down on paper that flew out of my brain can help somebody, I'm about that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So with me, I recently transitioned to a new position as a mental health and addiction nurse, and it's a voluntary center. And when you ask people, what caused your relapse, everyone is saying COVID-19. Everyone is saying COVID-19. They can't go to AA meetings, they can't get to shelters. They don't have access to support to keep them on the straight and narrow, to keep them clean. From a nurse, I kind of have a different view. I dare say jaded view, because it's like, yes, there's things we're doing to help the person physiologically, but that mental health, psychological component is missing. And I know, Karen, with the work you and Latrell do for women with trauma, abuse, and domestic abuse relationships, it's very difficult right now. And the For Colored Girls book is still desperately needed. It's still very potent. I feel like no matter what, it's going to be a poignant piece. But when you put it in the lens of the pandemic and quarantine, when people can't leave, people who generally struggle leaving to go to a safe place now cannot. They literally cannot leave and have that safe place. I'm hoping this book is able to let them see that they are at least not alone. The same struggles that we had when we were writing this, last fall are still there. They've just been exacerbated. So just like Misty said, it's needed. It's still potent. It's still a work of art. It's still beautiful. And I don't think the stories have necessarily changed, but the necessity of hearing those stories have.
And I promise we're going to leave the last 15 minutes to all book plug. Because people don't know that there's a book out there. So we'll allow time and space to talk about what people can look forward to from you all and from the book.